This video shows how to set up Windows 10 with the AlphaPix controllers. As for network configuration. Now, a few words of caution. Before you try to set up your controller, make sure that your controller is also already configured with the lights and has gone through the test mode. See our other videos for configuration. Now, what we want to do is go ahead and bring up the network configuration. Now, a little bit of background here. On the controller, we have a network jack. It is a Cat5 jack and is for Ethernet. Please be aware that you cannot hook the AlphaPix controller or any E131 controller to an LOR network. So, your LOR controllers need to be run on a separate network, separate of your controller for E131. Your E131 controller is a network device like your network printer, network cameras, computers, DVRs, or any other device that you've hooked up to your internal network. So, they are network devices, not LOR controllers, which run on RS-485. So, what we have configured here is we have a Cat5 cable between the AlphaPix controller directly to a laptop, and this laptop has a Ethernet port or network port built right into the laptop, and it also has a wireless network, which is hooked up to our internal network on the network here. So the first thing we need to do is configure our wired network for access. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up here and I'm going to go search for network. And I'm going to go to network connections, view network connections. And what we see here, three different kinds of network connections. Bluetooth doesn't apply here. And our Wi-Fi network is used to go to the internet. So what we want to do is we want to configure this. Now, I will caution that different networks will be set up in different ways, and your configuration may differ slightly. We are using the most simplistic method, which is the controller hooked directly to the computer. You may have switches or other devices involved. So, in this particular case, you can see that we've already named the network by right-clicking on it and saying rename. We've changed it to unidentified network to E131 network. Now, what we're going to do is right-click on that, select properties, and we're going to go down here till we click on IP version 4. Click properties. Now, normally a computer receives its IP address from another device on the network called the DHCP server. In this particular case, your network controller or your AlphaPix does not have a DHCP server. It does not give out an IP address. So what we're going to do is we're going to configure what's called a static IP address. So we're going to go ahead and say use the following IP address, and we're going to type in a specific IP address. Now, the default address for an AlphaPix controller is 192.168.0.50, and you need to configure an IP address that is not that address. Each device, each AlphaPix, each PC all have to have their own IP addresses. So we're going to configure 192.168.0.1. This just has to be an address that's not used on your network. And it automatically puts in the subnet mask down here of 255. That means that 255 means you can't change these numbers above. They need to be all the same. We can only change this last number between 1 and 254. Now, we also can't make it 50 because that's the controller's address. We need to make it 1 in this particular case. All right, and we're not going to use any DNS server, so go ahead and leave that blank. We'll click OK. We'll click Close. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that there's nothing interfering with this. Now, the number one cause of problems with reaching a controller are firewalls and antivirus applications. So, you want to go ahead and configure the firewall here. In this particular case, it is on, and we're going to go ahead and leave it on, but be aware that if you experience problems, data not working, disable your Windows firewall and or your other firewalls like AVG or Norton or Symantec. Now, what we want to do is check to see if we can even talk between the two devices. So we're going to go to the Start button again. We're going to type the letters CMD, which stands for Command Prompt, and it brings up a command prompt. Now we're going to ping the IP address. Ping just says, hey, can you hear me? So we're going to type ping, and we're going to put the IP address of the controller, which is 192.168.0.50. In this particular case, you can see that we're getting a response from the controller. That's good. So if you're bringing up the web browser, which is what we're about to do first, and it's not connecting, make sure you can ping it. If you can't ping it, back up, determine what's preventing you from pinging it. Now, if you do have the controller hooked directly to your PC, there should be nothing in place that would block it except for antivirus, firewalls, and other types of applications that are on your PC. So, we've gone ahead and established that we can reach the controller can hear us, and so we're going to open up a web browser, and we're going to go to its IP address, 192.168.0.50, and now you can see that we brought up the interface. Now you also see that we're using Google Chrome. We do not recommend Internet Explorer in most cases. There are problems with Internet Explorer. As you can see here, we brought up the Internet Explorer on this, and we can see the controller the Google Chrome, and we can see it just fine. So, this indicates a proper configuration in Windows 10 to connect the AlphaPix to your Windows 10 PC.